faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. The infant of Krypton is now the man of steel, Superman.
Darkest of night with the moon shining bright. There's a set going strong, a lot of things going on. The man of the hour has an air of great power. The dudes have envied him for so long. Oh, Superfly, you're gonna make your fortune by and by. But if you lose, don't ask no questions why. The only game you know is do or die.
Glenville was settled by Europeans in the late 1700s. Early New England farmers were the first to settle there, followed by immigrants from Scotland, Ireland, and England. Shady, thick glens, through which little streams tumbled, gave the area its picturesque name, the Village of Glens. After its incorporation as a village on October 4, 1870, Glenville became a summer resort for wealthy Clevelanders. Rich industrialists began to buy property for their homes, especially along the northern tip. The area was once known as a horse racing center when the Glenville Racetrack, built by the Cleveland Driving Park Company in 1870, opened at St. Clair Avenue between East 88th and East 101st Streets. It became a popular attraction featuring harness and later auto racing. However, Frederick H. Goff, then mayor of Glenville Village, who later founded the Cleveland Foundation, ended gambling at the local racetrack after he declared betting was illegal and the park was closed on October 15, 1908. Later, conflict arose when those who lived in the southern end of Glenville, the renters, wanted to be annexed to the city of Cleveland. The millionaires on the north had moved to Glenville to escape the city and wanted no part of the annexation. After a prolonged conflict, the annexation was voted out, but the inhabitants of northern Glenville took no chances. They seceded from Glenville in 1904 to form the village of Bretnall. Glenville was eventually annexed to Cleveland in 1905. Around the turn of the 20th century, wealthy industrialists began to buy property for their homes in Bretnall. Looking to escape the problems of the city that were creeping towards Millionaires Row, these men chose beautiful lakefront properties on which to build their great estates. By 1930, much of Glenville's population was of Jewish background, although a growing contingent of African Americans accounted for 8% of the neighborhood's residents.
My father was an American citizen. He had served in the First World War, and he was a bachelor till he was in his 40s, so he had a store on 105th, and he would close the store and go to Europe for a year. And he met my mother on one of these trips. And when things started getting bad in Europe, we saw the writing on the wall, he brought us over from Europe, and he had a house all fixed up for us on Pasadena.
I was brought up on Saywell, Tuscarora, and Hopkins Avenue.
I lived in the Glenville area from the time I was born in 1931 until I got married, which was in 1950.
The area was a borderline between the Italians and the Jewish families, and it was just a nice neighborhood.
There were the two Jewish areas, the Kinsman and the Glenville. They also lived on the west side for a time. In fact, there's a Jewish cemetery out there from when they first came in, the first settlers.
There's a glorious history here, and it goes back to a diverse community as well as the Jewish community.
By the time I was in 5th or 6th grade, the neighborhood started having more and more black people moving in.
By the time I lived there, it was changing. But I thought that made it better, the fact that it was changing. And I went to school with a diverse group of students. My class was 40% minority when I graduated. Some of my best friends were African American.
It was predominantly Jewish when we moved here in 1947. My father was a veteran of World War II, and when he came home, He wanted a place for his wife and brand new son who sits here with you today. And he wanted us to have a place to grow up and be strong. And the Glenville area was beginning to open up.
The Glenville community was considered the Gold Coast, meaning in Cleveland at the time, this was the place everybody wanted to be in the Glenville community.
It was just a good mixed neighborhood. Everybody got along. We had a lot of black kids in our class. Mostly, I think they were the smartest ones at the time.
And Cleveland public school system, when I started going here, was among the best big city school districts in the entire nation. It was like a model, is what I'm told.
I thought I got a very, very good education at the high school. We had wonderful teachers. In fact, when I went to college at Ohio University, I thought I had a better education. It was more difficult at Glenville than it was at my first year at OU.
Glenville was a phenomenal school. Everybody wanted to go to Glenville. We had the prettiest girls and the handsomest guys.
That was a period when people had opportunities and they were able to grasp them and they were motivated.
We have tons of people who graduated from Glenville who went on to do marvelous things.
Like my good friend Mort Mandel, it's fabulous what he and his two brothers were able to do. They were immigrants, his family, not he, and became a billionaire who has a wonderful foundation.
Jesse Owens came from Glenville.
Schuster and Siegel.
Myself, Philip Fenty, and Nate Adams were in the same class. We all graduated in 1960 from Glenville. Ron O'Neill graduated in 1959 from Glenville.
I've been very proud of the fact that I graduated Glenville High School. There's a lot of Glenville people here, and it brings back a lot of good memories. It was good times.
And I had a good neighborhood, a doggone good neighborhood. It was Glenville. And I can even be brought to tears sometimes when I think about what I got out of this neighborhood. It is in me right now. Glenville is still in me. And I will love it forever because not only what I did for it, but mostly what it did for me.
My program is called Recess Cleveland, and we're going to be going around repurposing some of the fields and empty lots around Glenville and throwing pop-up community games of soccer, dodgeball, capture the flag, ultimate frisbee. What a lot of people don't know is about 50% of schools have cut recess. And when I was a kid, that's where I learned how to negotiate. That's where I learned how to, talk to girls. I want kids to come out and exercise, work on their social skills, their conflict resolution skills, all the things that we had when we were in recess as children. With Recess CLE, I hope to inspire some community building. I want people to come out, meet neighbors that they've never seen before. I want kids to interact with kids that are from their neighborhood that they've never interacted with before. I want kids to come out and exercise. I love Glenville because there's a lot of opportunity here. There are a lot of people that want to create change, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So the thing that needs to happen first in order to get those changes expedited is that we have to change the mindset of the residents. And Glenville has a lot of resources and a lot of people who want to make that change. And if you don't get out the house and meet them, the change is not going to happen. Get out, go to these community meetings, talk with neighborhood connections, and realize your power.
I've been living in the Glenville area 51 years. I can tell you the past 30 years, this vacant house held up a lot of progress. I learned gardening. I learned landscaping growing up in the Glenville community. It was a side hustle from doing anything illegal. If you look at the history of this lot, when I first did it way back in 2011, it was an embarrassing thing in the Glenville community to put a garden in this soil not knowing about the high lead content. It came up nice, but after the roots got deep down past that small good soil, my corn, my lettuce, and my tomatoes started breakdancing and turning different colors, so I knew the food wasn't no good. so I destroyed that garden. I applied for the grant for Famicos to help me complete my project that I have been doing for the past 4 years. That is feeding a lot of the senior citizens in the Glenville community with the green tomatoes and corn. But now with this house coming down, it kind of broadens my perspective on the community now. I will be able to provide possibly 4 times as much food for the community. This community garden right here, I plan to make one of the best in America.
Faith program is all about helping young people cross the bridge from where they are currently in their life to success. Young people often don't have much to strive for and much to live for, and that's been a lot of what my life is about, being a model to represent that young people can make it. In my eyes, it's just so much opportunity. So many people from this area have gone on to success, whether that's in sports or, as you say, writing or production, TV and film. When we started this program, it was an attempt for us to jump back in the community firsthand and start helping young people be successful. We had a need for young people to receive the tools and the resources that were always prevalent, even in a historical sense. What a way, other than a video, than to share your story. And in today's day, with technology being as it is, you're one click away from 1 million views. We're here trying to help young people understand not only the history, but what they can be, the potential, the possibility of being from this neighborhood, and where they can go.
Our initiative for our Team for Pride of Glenville campaign is called The Ville Loves Me. It's inspired by the I Love Blank City logo and brand. So I love New York, or I love Paris, I love London. What I love the most about Glenville is that every time I come back home, I'm shown love. And so that's why it's The Ville Loves Me. It's basically a pride development campaign and initiative. And that's the logos that you see that I'm placing on abandoned property, and also making yard signs for community members to put up. Without a doubt, we are the most prideful people in the city. The citizens of Glenville, our neighborhood, is without a doubt the flyest, the most exciting, and most award-winning neighborhood in the city. What I think it does for abandoned properties, not necessarily to say we need to tear this down, but we need to look and notice that these buildings are just as much as part of our neighborhood as your home. I have a strong sense of a principle called Sankofa, which is a West African principle, a West African symbol. It's a bird that cranes its neck backwards. And the idea is that in order to move forward, you have to look back. It's pride and it's a pause, right? It's pride development, but it's also a pause. Hopefully people will pause and look at the image and look at the property that's around it and think about where we are and where we should be going.
My vision for the future of this community is that young people can start to understand the rite of passage.
We found something special in Glenville. It was peaceful, it was calm, it was historic.
We were Glenvilleites.
We're a diamond in the rough. We've had to struggle and fight for our place in the country and in Glenville's place in the city.
The soil here is precious to me because of what it gave to me. So it's important to come back and give back to the soil, because that same soil grows new families and new children. They come out of that same soil. The soil is rich here. It's rich wherever you are, if you choose to make it rich.
Regardless what our struggles and what our issues are, that there's help, that we can reach out to people that'll be willing to listen, that's willing to give us a hand and help us up through that.
I think it can be done with a lot of communities sticking together and getting some aid.
Glenville community needs a lot more people to get involved.
I am not a superhero. I am just a regular resident. And some people admire the things that I do, but it's my job to encourage others to do those things as well.
I firmly believe we're the leaders we've been waiting for. We're the heroes we've been waiting for. And we're at a very critical time that if we wait too long, we might mistake some people coming into our community as heroes when we can actually just look in the mirror and see that we're the change that we need to be.
So I think all of these answers are in us. I think we're born with these answers. But do we know that we know the answers? That's the question I ask. Do you know that you know the answer?
If you were a superhero, who would you be?
I love this question.
I've been asked a lot of questions, but I don't think I've been asked that before.
If I was a superhero, that's easy. I would be Batman.
If I could be a superhero, it would be Chris Arnett.
If I was a superhero,
All the other superheroes, they had something happen to them to give them their superpowers. Batman was just a regular person who sprung into action whenever his city needed him. And that's kind of what I'm doing.
You know, I have never wanted to be anybody else but me.
If I was a superhero, I may have to call myself Lightning.
Maybe I'd have a big B on my chest for super biz.
A superpower?
what superpowers do I have, or what superpowers would I like to have?
Fight evil.
If I could fly like Superman.
So I'm Batman around here.
It's this old saying, it's nothing but heroes and kings in Cleveland. And you can't win all the time, but you remember, you always count yourself in. I'm in, and there's better days ahead.
From Superman to Superfly.
Darkest of night with the moon shining bright. There's a set going strong, a lot of things going on. The man of the hour has an air of great power. The dudes have envied him for so long. Oh, Superfly, you're gonna make your fortune by and by. But if you lose, don't ask no questions why. The only game you know is do or die. Hard to understand, but a hell of a man. This cat of the slum had a mind, wasn't dumb. But a weakness was shown, cause his hustle was wrong. His mind was his own.